Yo, what's up, everybody? How's everybody's Friday night going? You know, we're gonna party. The music probably is gonna be too loud. Anyway, let me know if you could see me, hear me before I get too far. If you don't have that many viewers, which is fine because it's Friday night and you all should probably be partying, doing crazy stuff. But I'm gonna be working on my application that I'm working on. And if you want to join and hang out, you're more than welcome, which is fantastic. So say hello in the comments. Let me know how you all doing. I'm doing pretty good because it's Friday and I'm coding like it's nobody's business. So today I want to just show you my second project that I started working with Remix. And I've been really enjoying Remix. Remix is pretty awesome. And if you've never used Remix, it's a full stack React framework, which is pretty awesome. And so I've used it to build a very basic application. And so now I'm working to try to build my second application with Remix. So if you're not familiar with Remix, and by the way, say hello. Don't be shy. Let me know if you could hear me, see me before we get too far. But we are going to code live, chat. This is Friday night, so we just want to hang out as well. So if you have any questions, even if not code specific, let me know. I'd love to chat with you. So let me first showcase what I'm using. I'm using Remix to build my application. Remix is pretty awesome. If you've never used it before, it's a cool framework built by the same guys and girls that made React Router. And literally what I like about it, I feel like it's a very cool way to build websites faster. It's a lot of fun. And so you can go to remix.run to check it out. So this is what I will be using to build my application. And if you want to try it out, I could also share some starter code with you. But this is pretty cool. Remix is pretty awesome. It has nested routing, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. It is pretty awesome. And so today I'm gonna showcase the current application that I started working on. Hey, hello, Northern Chip. Let me know how my audio. Great to have you here. Engine Boys here, man. I don't even want to know what time it is here, but hello, welcome to have you all. So today I'm gonna continue working on my second Remix application. I'll show it to you. Today we're gonna focus on nested routes. Again, by no means I'm no Remix expert, but the goal is to get there. It's pretty awesome. And to power my Remix application, I'm using no other but Strappy, because I don't have time to be making a backend from scratch at the moment. So I want to get started really quickly, get something going. So I'm using Strappy. You could go to strappy.io to check it out, and I'll show you all that stuff. And it's pretty simple. And because I'm lazy and I've already had this library, Tailwind UI components, I'm using that in my application to make it much nicer, so I don't have to worry about it. Engine Boy says you're a Remix expert now. On Twitter, it definitely looks like it, but I'm getting there. There's so much I don't know. I'm such a terrible Remix expert that I'm still using vanilla JavaScript. But I am gonna take a vacation at some point next month, and I'm gonna spend those 2 weeks on vacation really diving into TypeScript, which I'm also gonna do this weekend a little bit. But I'm using Tailwind UI components to make things easier. But before we continue, my first application, this is what my first application looked like. Very simple application built with Remix, which basically it's like a blog site where you're able to see the blog posts, like super simple, super easy, right? And then you could recommend the topic here if you like. And this is the thing I want to say. When I first started, I was like, anybody trying something new, by the way, here's the thing that I want to say. If you're trying something new, don't be shy, get started, fail, learn, talk about it, share publicly, because that's the only way to start, is to try something out, just start building, right? Don't wait. You don't need too many tutorials. You know, of course, I'm looking at documentation, stuff to do. So this was a very simple application. So where am I today? Today I'm finally trying to put my idea that I have into play here. And so what I'm looking to do is to create this website, this idea that I had called Dev Hunt, which will allow you to collaborate and share your work with others, but more importantly, peer program with your friends. So you'll be able to create bugs, create tasks, what have you. I'm still thinking about it, but this is what we're building. This is what I have so far, built with Remix and Strappy. It's not done yet, but as you can see, the idea is you'll be able to share your project to get feedback, to help you get better faster. You'll be able to invite friends to work together on your projects or help by completing public bug bounties for fun, something that your friends will create. And then you'll be, because you're working with other people together faster, you're going to iterate on the projects that you're building, and you are going to get better fast. At least that's the goal. And again, if nothing happens on this website, whatever, but this is what I'm committing to as my personal side project, is to get Dev Hunt off the ground. And so here's the website that I have. By the way, this data is being populated by my Strapi application. So if I go to Content Manager, go to Pages, right, and take a look here on our homepage, we have our Hero section, right? We have our features, and we have our quote. It is coming from my deployed Strapi instance, and I'm able to populate my Remix application with that data. So it's dynamically generated data, already have an API, which was really easy to set up because I'm using Power the Strapi. Even though Remix is a full stack application to build full stack apps, or framework, I should say, I'm really taking the easiest route I can, use it for my front end, and using Strapi to power the back end. And so far I have the About page, nothing much to see. I have resources, projects, blogs. I'm going to have a community section, but where I'm really working and focusing on today is the dashboard. And we're going to talk about Remix routing today and how it works. And so this is what I have so far, and I have this dashboard. And the cool part here, if you hit projects, you will have our projects page. And these projects, by the way, are already dynamically sent from my API here, which is my Strapi instance, which is pretty cool. So if I go to my projects, I could see here that I have 2 projects. If I wanted to create a new project, and eventually you'll be able to add projects. Did it on, well, this is for the tech use. I'm going to say Remix, did it on stream, and you'll be able to add these eventually from your Strapi, not your Strapi application, but from my application front end. But for now, look at this. You already have an API that you're able to manage data. So if I click save, let me add a user, Paul, save, publish. Now check this out. That's already going to be in my application here. I refresh. Boom. Here's my project that I just added here. Boom. Right here. Look at that. Super awesome. Super cool. So today I'm going to take a look on how did I set up my routing here, talk about the routing, which is kind of cool because we have nested routing. And I'll explain this to you as we work through it today. But the idea is when people land to my dashboard, we have the sidebar here, right? Which is routes. And then when you click projects, you have these additional nested routes in here, which will fetch the data for my projects, right? And when you hit a project, it will display that information for that project, right? And what's cool within the project, the single project, you have nested routes that shows the project, the tasks that I have to hook up, notes that I still didn't do, and the comments. So that's pretty awesome. So we're going to take a look in the code, what it looks like. And Ancient Boy says, the UI looks great. I guess you bought it. Yeah, and so, by the way, there's many other ways and solutions to handle that. But for me right now, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to spend too much time working on the CSS. I just want to get to the market as quickly as possible. So I am kind of using everything that I can. And I bought this a long time ago. Let me tell you, Tailwind components wasn't cheap, but you know, I kind of invested in myself. I bought it, but you don't have to go this route. They have other services that are a little bit more affordable. You have this Shuffle website where, and I guess I learned this about following coding phase, but you could literally look, create a new project, and you could choose if you want to use Bootstrap, Tailwind, Material UI, Bulma, Tailwind, and there's plenty of free templates available, so you don't have to do paid stuff. But let's say start creating. What I like about here is that you could check out certain kind of, you know, things. Do you want to see portfolio? Do you want to see like the logo cloud, the headers, like what they got, features, different little sections like FAQs, call to action, the pricing plan. And what I like about this is, and it doesn't have to be shuffled. There's plenty of free available templates you could use. So don't be shy. You don't have to recreate stuff from scratch. And I could literally pull something from here. I'll take a header here. I'll pull that in. And I'm like, oh, if I like how that looks, it looks kind of cool. What you could do is you could export the HTML, and then you could translate it to JSX and use it in your React application, which I think is pretty cool. And so the Tailwind is not free, but there are a lot of free templates that you could find. Shuffle does have a monthly subscription, but I'm just saying, like, there's other places you could find. Or even like what I used to do, and I still do, you could go to ThemeForest, right? Let me open it in a different ThemeForest here. You could go to ThemeForest and find like Tailwind templates. Like here's a landing page template, $15. Yeah, it's, you know, not free, and $15 depending where you live could be a lot of money. But check this out, you get all this stuff which is using Tailwind, and you could literally pull it into your code, you know, take the HTML, very easy to convert it to JSX, just change class to class names and a couple small other things, and you're ready to go. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to build everything from scratch. When you're building a project that might have a bunch of moving steps, like, you know, I'm going to have a dashboard, I'm going to have all these other sections, it's going to take me a long time just to write the CSS. So I'm more interested in getting to the market as fast as possible and getting stuff done and getting stuff going. And today, before we take a look at the routing and how I set up, let me just kind of, you know, say hello to everybody. Yeah, by the way, if you have any questions in the comments, let me know. Hit me, like, whatever you want to talk about. But today we're going to focus on Remix, the second application that I'm working. We're going to focus on this concept of nested routes that you're able to build with Remix fairly quickly, fairly awesome. I'm still learning, but I do want to share some of the stuff that I'm doing with you. And by the way, this website, if you want to check it out, and again, it's not done. I can't stress it. It's not done. There's definitely bugs. There's definitely things that don't look good in mobile. But if you go to devhunt.io, I believe you should have the latest build that I have running on my local environment. So check this out. Yep, this is running live. So if you go to login and registration doesn't work, so don't even like worry about it. But, you know, oh, I didn't push the latest changes. Okay, I got to push the latest changes. Let me go do that now. Push the changes here. Server, client, get status. By the way, what I'm going to do, don't push to main, but I'm going to push to main right now. Get, commit, message, latest changes, get push, upstream origin, main. And by the way, this is hosted on Yarn Dev. Let me start it in my local though for now. This is hosted on Netlify, which is awesome. This is another thing I love about Remix. It's so easy to get it running on Netlify. So my Remix application right here, devhunt.io, and look, I just pushed those changes. It's building the files now, and it's going to get deployed, and you'll be able to see it on master by going to devhunt.io. And so I love the fact that you could host your Remix application on Netlify. So my stack, by the way, before we get too far, is pretty simple. So basically I'm using Remix and for my front end, even though it's a full stack platform, which is fantastic. And then I'm using Strapi as my API backend. I'm hosting my Strapi instance on DigitalOcean, which is fantastic. And I'm hosting my front end application right here on Netlify. And that is pretty awesome, right? And what I like to do, by the way, a lot of people, they wait to make their code public. They try to build stuff. I mean, I like to set up the bare minimum project, and I like to deploy it right away. So that way I could see my changes in live environment, and to make sure that, excuse me, to make sure that I'm constantly, you know, not waiting to build a whole like monolithic application locally and then never know that would even work in production. So I like to push everything to production right away, even though like I don't have all the features. So this is still building. Once it's done, you'll be able to And I think did it finish? Finish processing build request. Let's see, deploys. Let's go back here. And by the way, if you want to see this website live, I just published the new changes. You could go to devhunt.io and boom. And again, this is work in progress. There's certain things obviously might have bugs. This is my dashboard. These are like projects. And this data, by the way, is coming dynamically, like I demonstrated from my Strappy application that's already running here. And today I want to talk about Remix routing. I want to talk about how this dashboard is built, how I'm getting data. And the cool thing is this is all nested routing. So I have this dashboard, which has two routes: dashboard, which shows this section, and projects. Once you go into project section, it's going to have additional nested routing routes, which is for my project. And when you click on a project, it will, based on that ID, it will go ahead and fetch the next one. Another cool feature, which is I'll talk about before when we start discussing the routes here. This is pretty sick. This is called, I forgot what it's called, but partial loading or whatever. But check this out. Notice right now there's no call. But whenever I hover, notice how it already starts prefetching that data for that post. So when I click post, it loads fairly quickly because the data was prefetched. Notice when I hover again, look at that. It prefetches the next entry. And when I click, right, it shows the next post, the next information. Same here, my second, I use the same image for this one. But when I click here, boom, look at that. Look at that. So every time it's prefetching that data, which is kind of cool. It's pretty neat. It's pretty awesome. So we're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about the routing. If you haven't smashed the button, smash the button for just the people here in the comments. And if you have any questions about anything, questions about life even, let me know. Again, this is Friday night. I don't expect much. Hang out. More importantly, I just want to share what I'm working on, share what I'm building. And if you learned something cool, that's awesome. So let's jump right into the code right away. So this is my front-end code. And what I'll do first is I'll start with the initial app setup here. So we'll take a look at the routes in a second, which is pretty fantastic. And if you're wondering, here's another thing. Remix is using React Router 6 under the hood. And so the way we're able to define our routes, check this out, is inside our routes folder, and it's using file-based routing. So whatever file we create, that's going to be route. So for instance, I have about.jsx, blog.jsx, community.jsx. If you take a look at it, right? And better convention, it probably shouldn't be about, it should be about route. That would make sense. And I should make those changes in all those other sections, which I'll do later. But basically, this is a route. So if you, in my application, right, and you click about route matches this about.jsx file located in routes. And we'll talk in more details about the nested routing in just a second. And here's the cool thing. At the end of the day, what you see here is your little React router. That's what you're using. So I believe if I do yarn remix routes, I think this is the correct command. Don't hate me for it. Yeah, like check this out. It's going to show the whole full structure of my routes that I have generated. It's smart enough to know that you already hovered in it previously, so it's not going to go crazy with it, which is a good point, Engine Boy. But it's smart enough to know that. So I don't know if you saw me when I was hovering on one item or the other item. It was smart enough to know the one that I hovered on before, that the data was already prefetched and cached for. Really good feature, by the way, and makes your website much more snappier. But check this out. Here's all my routes. We have the root route. And then we have our community route, dashboard route. We have our resources, projects, register about, our index, which is our homepage, login, and blog. But then you could also see the structure here of our nested routes. We have our dashboard. Inside the dashboard, we have two items, followers and projects. So if you take a look inside my dashboard, you see dashboard and projects. And if you take a look at the dashboard, check this out. We have our I don't think I'm showing up followers here. I got to double check that. But we have our index, which is our immediate dashboard. And then we have our projects. I wonder why followers is not showing up. I'm going to fix that later and possibly. Oh, because I removed it from the link. It actually, the page exists, right? I just removed the link because I didn't want to have it. But if I do followers, the route is there. Boom. See my followers. I just remembered I removed it from the menu for the time being. But we're going to take a look at how Next.js handles nested routes in just a second. But I'm just kind of showing you the code overview. So let's kind of take a step back and talk about the folder structure in Remix. So when you create a Remix app, you will have your app folder, your public folder, your styles folder, where basically I have my Tailwind that I'm calling my Tailwind. And you could set up a Tailwind config to make sure that everything works, which is amazing. The fact that you could use Remix with Tailwind. And by the way, you could use Remix with TypeScript, and I'm not using TypeScript because you don't need to wait to learn to use TypeScript to get started with Remix. Even though this is a TypeScript project, for time being, while I'm learning TypeScript, I renamed stuff to JS rather than TS. You have your Remix configuration that comes right out of the box for you. You don't have to worry about it. And for our entry points, if you look at the app, we have our entry client, which is basically our client side. And then you have your entry server. Again, we don't have to worry too much about it. You could read more in the documentation. But the most important part here, when you look at your root folder here, that what is responsible to rendering everything. So everything that goes between this outlet is what's going to show up on your screen. And the way you get started is within your route folders, you would create the initial file. So for instance, my entry point is this index file, which will show my home page. You'll see the top nav, the footer, render page content. I will explain that a little bit later. And what I love about this, by the way you're able to fetch data in Remix is pretty awesome. So here's my navigation, but check this out. I use the Remix loader function, which I call my file here, my method here, my function here that lives in my API pages, get page by slug, by the way, which runs on the server, which is pretty cool. So I'm calling my Strapi API, I'm getting this data, and I'm getting it in my index file using the use load data hook that Remix provides. And notice how clean this looks. There's no use effect, there's no use state. When I have my data, I get that data, right? And then I pass it to my render page content. And all it is, if you're wondering, is basically checks which component do I want to render based on my Strapi components, and it will render that appropriate component. And I'll show you what I mean. For instance, if you look at my Strapi application here, I have my page, and my page is built of a couple of components, right? Right now I have hero, feature, quote. I could add another component, let's say call to action, a quote, features post section. And based on what I return in my response in my Remix application, what I'm doing is I'm iterating through the data, and then I'm making sure to dynamically display that component that I want to display, which is pretty awesome. But anyway, let's talk about nested routes. That's what I want to talk to you about. And you could also check out the documentation. You could check out documentation, or you could Google Remix nested routes, and it will take you to this docs page, which will talk about all the about nested routes, different options you have, how it works, why it's awesome. So what I want to stress here, while learning new things, don't be shy, use the documentation. So a lot of people, they want to do tutorials, which there's a lot of great tutorials. Some of the tutorials I recommend by Remix is from Front End Masters. Can't See Dots has a lot of good stuff. Also go to the Remix YouTube channel. You could see a lot of their amazing tutorials. But more importantly, you are able to kind of read the documentation to look at things. And by the way, I didn't learn this just by documentation. I started learning this by trying this in my code, right? And having things work, having things break. And so, what's up, Pablo? How you doing? I know nothing about Remix. I'm learning Next.js right now. No, Next.js is pretty awesome too. So I have two projects. I have one in Next.js and then I have one in Remix. So for my personal projects, I really like Remix. And again, it could be a personal favor, but I think if you've never tried Remix, first thing I would say, if you don't know already one framework, kind of okay. So like, let's say you don't know any front-end framework like Next or even Create React App. Like at least get the basics of React and then, you know, try out Remix. Remix is pretty awesome. Next.js is cool too. I love Next.js. I love Remix. If some people say you can't have two loves, I think you can. I do, share my love with Remix and Next.js. But what I like about it, and here's the cool thing about Remix and Next.js, it's good that they both exist because they motivate each other to continue to evolve and make progress. Now, there's certain things I love about Remix. I'm still learning a lot about Remix. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an expert. I'm still, some dude who's learning. But from my first project I built, from seeing what others people build, and kind of this idea of going to market fast. Like if you take a look, I didn't spend too much on the application and I already have my application running, on devhut.io. It's not done yet, but I literally found my templates from Tailwind. So it was very easy to build out my UI because I'm literally using those templates. I have all these sections. I have the dashboard that I'm working on now. And by the way, this is already coming from my API. Not all the functionality is here. Some of the data is hard-coded. Some of the data doesn't even exist. For instance, if you try to log in or register, none of these forms are connected or working. But in a matter of weeks, I've been able to make really good progress. And this is what I'm going to say. Like, don't try to recreate the wheel from scratch, right? It's okay. If you have an idea, the most important part is to get to market as quickly as possible so you could start getting users on your platform. So for me, standing on the shoulders of giants by using Remix and using Strappy as my backend for my API, which is awesome and pretty good. And that's a good point, Engine Boy. Until you learn Next.js fully, I cannot know how Remix is good over other stuff like Next.js. And that's an exactly valid point. And this is why I have my Remix. This was my first Remix application I made, but this is the one that I'm building now, right? And then I also have my blog. If you go to Coding After 30, this is using Next.js and using GraphQL actually to get data. But this is basically like, I don't really blog much, but this is kind of where I put my notes of cool things that I learned. By the way, we have a community on Circle. Let me see, Circle community, which I need to get back into. I took a long break. I had some family stuff that happened, but we have a Circle community. Log in for Coding After 30. So we chat, we do cool stuff here. I'm gonna get back and participate more. We have about, how many members we have here? I don't even remember, but we have this community. It's free right now. We have 40 members at the moment and it's a work in progress. I gotta get back into it. And oh no, Francisco, awesome. Yeah, and I'm about to jump more into the code in the second and kind of showcase, talk about specifically doing nested routes, but I just quickly want to get some of the stuff out of the way. But anyway, what I was saying earlier is that I have two projects, one in Next.js, one in Remix, because like Engine Boy said, it's very important to like learn and try a bunch of different things so you could know the difference. By the way, if you want to sign up for the community, all you need to do is enter your name, your email, test at email, whatever, provide a valid email. I'm just doing it. And what I really want to see, if you want to be part of that free community that I have, is that you have a GitHub account, right? So if you don't have a GitHub account, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure if I should be taking you, you know, that you're actually, you know, gung-ho about learning to code. So if you want to sign up for the community, what you got to do is you have to go ahead and enter your GitHub link. If you want to send me a note, you smell, whatever it is, it's fine. Submit, boom, it gets submitted, and I'll be able to add you to our community. So you could submit the form, coding after 30. But anyway, my point was I have a project in Next.js, which is cool with GraphQL, and then I have this Remix application that I'm working on. And by the way, if you're interested, I want to involve some people in testing this project once it gets a little bit farther along. And by the way, if somebody, this is not an open source project, meaning because I'm using paid Tailwind template, I was like, you know what, whatever. But if someone wants to kind of help and work on this project by joining the private GitHub repo, and eventually I'll make this open source, but I'm going to make it open source once it's done. But if you want to participate and you want to kind of help out, join the community that I just shared and let me know. And then eventually, like, if you're part of the community, I'll let you get access to the repo, so that way you could test things out, you could play things, you could make suggestions, or I could even ask, I could have some bugs. And Engine Boy, 100% you're invited. And I'm going to definitely share more about it, and hit me up also PM to remind me if I don't get to you back like by the end of like this week or next week. But yeah, because I'd love to get more people involved. But here's the idea for this project, is to create something, a place for people to be able to collaborate and pair program, and to be able to share their projects, be able to, you know, add tasks that people that follow you could help you with, take notes on the projects that you're learning, and then have people leave comments on what you're building. But enough about that. Let's take a look at nested routes and how they work. So we're going to close this for now and take a focus here. I'm going to make it bigger here. So in Remix, what you have is you have file-based routing. So in the routes folder, whatever file you create, that file will be a route. And just to kind of show you by example, inside our routes, I'm going to make a new file called urock.jsx. And then with JSK, what the hell is that? I'm making stuff up as JSX. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a simple component here, RFC. And by the way, when you're doing routes, like a good naming convention here, because it is a route, is call it urock route, right? And I need to kind of follow that better. And then here we'll say, hey fam, whatever it is. And so now, just by adding this file in the routes folder, I now have this route. So if I go to dev.io urock, if I could spell urock, and let's say I probably misspelled it, urock spelled correctly, urock. Oh, I put it in the dashboard. My bad, my bad. It goes in routes. No, it's in routes. Urock. Oh, I'm an idiot. I know why. This is live. This is the one in production. Let me close this one and open the project that I'm actually working on in localhost. Let me go here. Localhost 3000. And I remembered that I killed the project. Yarn dev. Because this is already deployed. I'm not shy. Let people look at my good code, bad code, whatever it is. So now it's running on localhost. I said localhost. That's terrible, Paul. I'm sorry. So this is running now. So check this out. Now if I go to urock, the folder that we created, we got hey fam, right? This is awesome. So this is awesome. But let's say we wanted to create a folder which is nested routing. So before we do that, we'll do to play around with stuff. We'll build some stuff from scratch, but let's take a look what I implemented so far in code. So we'll come back to this urock, But let's take a look here. So if you have a folder name, it's going to be a route. So we have our about, JSX, blog, community, and so on, right? Now, notice how I have a dashboard route here. And inside this dashboard route, we have our, let me close all the unnecessary windows here and zoom out here. Inside our dashboard route, when you land on it, you will see this JSX displayed, and the outlet is going to be all the nested routes within dashboard are going to be displayed here. So if that doesn't make sense to you, we're going to take a look by example of what that means. But let's kind of come back talking about this here. Let me make this bigger. So basically, if you want a regular route with no nested route, no children, you literally just create a file and you call it what it is. Now, if you want to create a parent, which is going to have children, the pattern is you have the route and all the children that you want to display in that route, you would create a folder with the same name called dashboard. And inside there, you could have your routes. So let's try this out, okay? So what I want to do is within my UROC.jsx, right? What I want this to be, I want this to be the parent, right? And inside here, I want to have nested routes, the parent. Okay, so, Jesus Christ, I'm copying, pasting like a jerk. Okay, here we go. So the parent. So if we come back to our local host here, here we are, we're rendering the parent. And you're like, where did the navigation go? Where all that other stuff go? Don't worry about it at the moment. But we are rendering the parent, which is our UROC folder. UROC file. Now we want to create a home for our parent routes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a folder called UROC. So now this is our parent folder. And within this parent folder, we're going to create an index.jsx file. And this is going to be the home route that you land on when you go to, oh my God, fat fingering things, RFC, tab. I can't type to save my life, so we're gonna not call it anything. It's gonna be our home root route. So this is root children route. So whenever you go to the UROC file, it's going to display this index.jsx, which is going to be our root child in our parent. So before we see it working, let me just do H1 here. So it's kind of somewhat presentable. Boom. So now we have our first nested route. We have our parent route. And inside this folder that's named the same as our parent route, we have our child. We have our nested route. So let's take a look if it works. So I go here, I refresh. We still see the parent, but we don't see the child. Well, the reason why we don't see the child is because we have to use the outlet. And this is what we're going to do. Yeah, that's so funny. So like working on deployed versus local. So I got to remind myself to make sure all those changes I'm doing are in the local environment. All right. Let me change that up like this here. Yeah, perfect. So how do we see our children? Like, how do we do that? Like, how do we see the children? Well, we need to use outlets. And so what I'm going to do inside my UROC folder here, I'm going to make a section, whatever. And inside this section, I'm going to put an outlet. And we're going to import outlet. Import outlets from Remix Run. Now, because we're using the outlet, whatever we go to inside our UROC, whatever, when we go to the nested route, index.jsx is going to be the first thing that's going to show. So now we should see the code in the parent, right? And then we should see the children route, because when there is no other route selected, it's always going to hit the index. So let me refresh. So notice now we have the parent and we have the children route, which is pretty awesome. By the way, Pablo, I would say my preferred place to deploy Next.js application is Vercel. I don't go anywhere else. So my Next.js application is deployed to Vercel, and it's a perfect place to deploy, not just for personal projects, but for production projects as well. Definitely use Vercel for Next.js. I won't use anything else for Next.js. But for everything else outside of Next.js, I use Netlify. That's why my Remix app is hosted on Netlify at the moment. I know you could also host it on Remix, which is pretty awesome. But let's get back to this. And if you have questions, let me know. Let me make the screen just a bit bigger. So let's kind of review. So we created a UROC, which created a route for us called UROC. And we wanted to make it our parent route. So to make it a parent route, we created a folder with the same name. So inside our UROC folder, we created index.jsx. And this is what's going to be displayed if there's no other route selected. And this is where we have our children route. So now within UROC, we could have a couple of other pages. For, let's say inside UROC, you want to have a new file, and we're going to call it, let's say, friends.jsx. We're going to call, RFC. Come on, I'm too lazy to type. Why don't you let me? RFC, come on. Okay. Like I don't know why my autocorrect wasn't working here. That's fine. And we're gonna call it, let's call this one friends route. Then let's return div h1 friends route. So now that's good. Refresh. So notice when we go to UROC, it's going to show the index file, but now within our UROC, we have our nested routes. So we just created friends, right? And notice we have the friends route, which is awesome. So let's say we wanted to create nested routes within the friends route. So guess what? We're going to follow that same exact pattern like we did before. So what I'm going to do here, if I want to have nested routes within friends, what is the pattern? Well, I need to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it friends.jsx. Not JSX, just friends. And I want to create a new file called index.jsx. And inside here, we're going to create RFC. Why is it no longer working? RFC, create React. Oh my God. This is so annoying, but that's okay because the power of copy and paste never hurt anybody because I'm too lazy at typing. So this is going to be, we're just going to not call it anything at the moment. So this is friends child route, right? Fantastic. And if we want to display the friend's child route, what is the pattern? What did we learn? We need to put a outlet. Not object, outlet. Let's import outlet from remix run. People like, Paul can't type fast. I know. To me, not typing fast is a superpower. And the reason why it's a superpower is because I'd like to pretend that it allows me to think more about my code because I'm not typing too fast. So this is friend's route. And inside here, we should have index, which is our friend's child route. So let's take a look here. So notice we have the parent, we have the friend's route, and then we have the friend's child route. And then we could have more children inside here. So new file, friends. I'm running out of like what else to put. Friends. We'll say whatever. Resources. Resources.jsx. And so now, boom, resources. And this is friend's child route, resources. And then let's go here, child route, index, right? And so now, check this out. We have UROC friends, and now we have UROC resources. What the hell did I call it? Resources. Did I put my outlet inside the index? Resources, friends. I do have my outlet, remix, run, react. Let's see here. Resources, rename, control copy. So I'll make sure my local host. Oh, I forgot. It's UROC. We're in friends. That's why it didn't work. Because we're children and children. Paul, please spell correctly. Friends. So now we have friends, and within friends, check this out. Now we have our resources. Resources. Usually when something doesn't work, it's the downfall of my spelling. So now we have the parent, we have our nested route, our friend route, and within that we have child routes, which is awesome. So we get the basics. So let's review the basic pattern, and then we're going to kind of take a look and work on the rest of my application based on what we know, and I'll explain to you. So whenever creating a route, you basically would create a new file, and whatever you name it, that's going to be a route. If you just create a file, let's say new file, test.jsx, RFC, it just doesn't want to work. It doesn't want to work. Why? I'm kind of frustrated about that, but I have to type stuff. Nobody wants to see me type. Default function. So test route, we're gonna call it test route. So if you just create a file inside the route folder, test.jsx, that's gonna be a route. So if we go to our application here, I just created a route called test. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, Paul. Can you like not test, boom, 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 boom. How do you spell test, Paul? TST? No, it has an E in it. Boom. So that's the test route we created. So now if you wanted to make a parent route with nested routes, the pattern is just like we did in UROC here, is you create a folder named UROC, and whatever routes you put as files inside your folder that you want to display as children inside your UROC file, we use outlet. And you basically repeat that pattern moving forward. So within our UROC, we made a parent folder called friends, and within friends, we have nested routes. So how do you display those nested routes? you use inside friends. Let's go back here. Where's friends? Friends index, friends here. Use an outlet, and that's how I display the children. So looking at my application, let's kind of look and review the real world. Let me close these unnecessary folders here for now. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be doing a stream with Can't See Dots, amazing guy. We'll be talking about Remix. That's going to be on October 19th. You could check it out at Strappy channel. Thought I'd plug that in there. Let me close the unnecessary stuff here. Let me close the production one. This is fine. So blah, 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 blah. Let me close all this stuff. So let's go and use our local host as a test. So here's my application, and we're going to kind of look at the real life example of kind of what I just explained and see how it fits within this dashboard that I created, which has our routes. Our dashboard has nested routes dashboard, which is our index.jsx file, and then our projects file. Our projects will get our projects. When you click on the projects, it has nested routes for those projects, and within projects, I know it's a mouthful. I just want to show you how cool you're able to do these nested layouts. We have more nested routes for projects, tasks, notes, and comments. So if we take a look inside the code here, following that same pattern, and I'm gonna delete friends because we don't need it anymore. I'm gonna delete Urock because we don't need it anymore. I just used it as an example. Maybe I should have saved it. Let me delete test and Urock here. Let me delete these. Perfect. So now let's take a look. We're following the same example that I just outlined. So I have my dashboard, and it'll display a bunch of JSX. And then if I want to have children nested routes, what do I do? What is the pattern? The pattern is to create a, dude, we want to have fun. I admit this is the funniest coding life. I want to be even more fun. You know what? That's how we do it. We want to entertain. The reason why I have to make him fun, because I don't know enough about coding, so I have to make stuff up, make jokes. Funny, haha, there we go. But what is the pattern? The pattern is you create a route name file, dashboard JSX, and then you have your initial code here. And if you want it to have your parent for your children routes, what you do is you create a folder name with that same name. And then whatever the index file is, this is what's going to display. And again, don't worry about the JSX here. We'll talk about next. That's what's going to display inside the dashboard outlet once you initially go here. So in this example here, once you land on the dashboard, the index, this is what is actually the code responsible for this view in the index. That's going to be displayed in the outlet. When I click projects, it's going to display this project code, which will show the list of projects inside the project, not project. No, yep, the where it is, where it's at inside the project here. Let me just show you here. Oh, it's gonna display that code that we hit within the outlet, which is pretty awesome. And then the project stuff is getting a mouthful, is going to be displayed. Let me scroll down here. I guess I could search outlet, but it's going to be using the outlet to display the children of that thing. So I'm kind of getting like, so it's like the nested Russian doll within a nested Russian doll. So like the idea here will kind of go from the beginning. So when you get here, we have all our root files, about, resources, project, blog, community, dashboard. There might be an additional one somewhere there. So if you're in our root routes, about, blog, community, index, login, project, register, and resources. Those are those initial routes. Now, when you click dashboard, right? When you click dashboard, what it's going to do is going to display the layout code that I have here. Let me actually zoom out for those who aren't interested. So we have our code here, which basically displays the sidebar content. So it displays the sidebar content. And let me just break it up here. Let me do this. Check this out. So I'm going to remove outlet from here so we could see here. So when you land on the dashboard, it's only going to display what's within inside this code. So everything that's within the dashboard folder, you're not going to see because we removed outlet. So check this out. So all you see is just the dashboard on the left. And that is the code here. This is the code here that displays my menu. And again, you don't have to really understand everything. We're just showing like the Northern Chim. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping by for a little bit, saying hello. So the way we display our nested route, our children routes, is we use the outlet. So what are we going to see from the outlet? From the outlet, once we go here, we're going to see the index. Followers I could remove because I'm not even using it anywhere, so that's fine. We're going to see the index, which is our home page, and we're going to see our projects. Now, our projects should have an outlet where it's at. Nav project.map. It goes to the link. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second, but our projects will display the menu for all the projects. So if we take a look here, see, it will show all the projects here. And if you take a look at the projects, when there's no project selected, it's showing this code. It's showing the index portion of the code. So whenever we go to the projects route, the parent route, it will display the index file if nothing's selected. Now, when you select a project, and we'll talk about this funny kind of thing here, but what this means is when you put a $sign project ID, it basically becomes a dynamic route that expects an ID. So when we click on our project, notice here we're passing an ID. It's our dynamic route. If there's no dynamic route selected, it's going to show no project selected. If you go to a dynamic route, it is going to display that information. And then finally, within our project, we have more nested routes, our comment section, index, node, and tasks. I know it might be a little bit confusing at the beginning, but you could always rewatch the stream. You could always hit me up with questions, and you could ask questions now on stream, by the way. This is why I stream. And that's basically how I have my routing set up. So what do I want to do? So that's enough about routes. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to work on this a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to start getting a tasks data just to kind of see if I could display it. And I'm going to do like a very simple implementation of this because right now this is hard coded, and then I'm going to work on it. So the first thing I want to do is to create a task. Let me go into the UI first here, go to my tasks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of, so for task, I want to have keep it simple. Let's do an author, the person that created the task. We're going to do task title, right? I'm just kind of visualizing. It's going to break a bunch of stuff. That's fine. We want to have the title. Let's do Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to break it completely. I'm going to not worry about this. So that's going to break the app. That's fine. And what we're going to do, we're going to get the data from the backend. So I'm going to kind of comment this out because we're not using it. So our application is not broken. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to define tasks in my backend. And we're going to start super simple. We'll do name of the task. We'll do status if it's assigned, some sort of status. And then that's all we'll do. We'll just do super simple, super simple. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of delete some of this stuff. And we're just going to have super simple. We're going to have title. Let's do like a description. Description. And then let's do another one. Description. And then let's see. Status. So those are the three things we need. We need title, description, and status. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create these content types on my backend, which is I'm using Strapi. So I'm going to log into my admin. So this is my Strapi admin, lock in. I always forget my passwords. I have too many. Monkey1234. And this is probably a different email. Okay, so now I'm inside my backend. And what I want to do is I want to create tasks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my content builder. I'm going to create a new collection called task. Continue. And we're going to keep it simple for now. What did we want to have? We wanted to have a title. We'll use a short text. Then add another field. It's going to be text description. It's going to be long text. And then let's do status. For status, I'm going to use enums. I'm going to call status. And we're not going to go too crazy. We're just going to have active, complete. What else? I'll just do active, complete, waiting, whatever the hell. For now, that's fine. No, let's do assigned. Whatever. Well, I'm overthinking stuff. And this is the thing that I want to say. When you're building stuff, don't overthink. Obviously, planning is important. But what's even more important is to get coding and do stuff. So we're going to do active and completed. Or done. Done. Why not? And then we're going to say finish. And so now we have our tasks. But what we want to do, we want to have those tasks assigned to a particular project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a relation. And I'm going to make a relation to project. And we're going to say task belongs to... no. Project has many tasks. So we're going to make a relationship where we have a project. That project will have tasks. A project has many tasks. Does that sound correct? Yes, that makes sense. Finish. Good. Save. So now what I want to do is I want to create some tasks. But before I do that, because this is running locally, I'm going to push these changes to my deployed app. That's what I'm writing. So private routes, we are going to talk about it in another video because it's different the way it is done in React because we doing a lot of that stuff server side, what you will have to do is you basically do a cookie that you store in server side, and then you check on the server to make sure that that cookie exists. And if it does, there's this loader function where you're able to add the basically, I'll show an example here real quickly since you asked. We're not going to go too deep into it because number one, I still have to learn more about it. But if I go to my projects here, check this out. We have this loader function inside. Where the hell did I put that loader function? Project, use location parameters. I think I pulled it right here. So we have a loader function. So you will be able to do some logic here. So whenever people hit the route, it's going to hit this loader function. And here you would write the logic. If user exists, then continue. If not, redirect. They're not authorized. So it would be very simple to implement once you set up the the cookie storage for logged in user, which I will definitely do that in later videos. So not this week, possibly next week when I stream live. I'm most likely going to be covering how to log in and create register user functionality, which will involve us diving into how to store that user info through a cookie storage. But for now, let's get back here. So let me first go ahead and deploy those changes. So let me double check here. So now if we take a look at our project, let's say create new project, we're able to add tasks. Fantastic. So let me deploy this. And again, don't ever deploy to main. This is git add, git commit message, added tasks. Because I'm lazy, I'm actually running my dev environment from my deployed backend. Git push. And this is kind of cool for you guys and girls to see origin main, what happens. So once I push this to my development environment, it is inside my DigitalOcean, which I love for running my Strappy builds or backend applications. So notice it's building. Once it's built, we'll be able to use that and add some tasks. But let's look at the comments. Yeah, we're 100% going to do private streams because my application, it will heavily rely on having private streams. Right now, dashboard is not private. That's why you're able to go here and check it out and get the data. But I want this to be for logged in users. So the idea is going to be once people go through the login, they'll log in and they'll be redirected to the dashboard. And if they're not logged in, the dashboard will say like, hey, you're not logged in, get the hell out of here. And it's going to kick them out and redirect them either back to homepage or back to the login section. But we are going to do that in the next following stream because I want to get login and register working as quickly as possible so I could start getting tester users. And Engine Boy, you're going to be not only a user, but I really appreciate your help to contribute as well. And if anybody else wants to contribute, definitely jump in and hang in there. So I'm learning web dev for a career change at the moment. Did you finish free code camp web dev course when you started? No, I just did a bunch of Udemy courses and I started building stuff. I could talk. So what I would say is you don't need a lot of courses. What you need to do is you need to do one HTML and CSS course, one JavaScript course, one React course first. Then if you want to do Next.js course, and then with each course you complete, based on what you learn, build a portfolio project, and then right away start applying. So notice I mentioned 5 courses. You don't need more than that. The biggest waste of time that I had is trying to basically buy courses. I have over like 700 courses on Udemy. Wasted, money wasted. I probably completed 10. So just start building stuff from scratch is the hardest thing to do. But let me tell you, once you get going, it'll be awesome. And you could also join our community if you want. By the way, you could go to Coding After 30. That way you could, to be honest, I am not as I'm good. Like I need to be more active in the community, but go to codingafter30.com. Just enter your first name, your email, a GitHub link, a note if you like, and then click submit. And I will invite you to our private community. So any questions you have about switching careers or making sure you're staying on track in your career change, you could ask those questions. And by the way, if you want to see, I kind of circle community, kind of get a taste before we come back. This is the community that we have. Resources. We got like cool stuff here. You know, you could check it out. And I had a post here that I forgot where I put it. Like, I got to get back. I had a bunch of family stuff that happened that was crazy. So I got to get back. But this is the community. This is where we hang out and have fun. So definitely send me here. Just register here and I'll give you a login to log in here. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get back. So hopefully my application built. Let's check it out. Deployment failed. This is why you should never deploy to main. Because then if something fails and doesn't work, there's going to be issues and then you have to troubleshoot. But that's okay. I'm going to see if I could figure out what the issue was. Yarn. Oh, God damn it. I think I don't know. But that's okay. Yarn dev. Nope, yarn develop. The good news, like when your build fails on Netlify, DigitalOcean, it'll still keep the previous build. And we could troubleshoot stuff. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Let me try here. Build logs, actions, force rebuild and deploy. Force replay and deploy, cleared build cache. Let's try it again. Last time I had some ES linting issues, so that was an issue. Hey, what's up, Mark? Hey, Polly. Dude, Mark is awesome. Go to Dev Mentor Live. He has so many phenomenal videos. Learned so much. How's everything this evening? Hit that like button. Doing good. Man, Fridays are really slow for streams, so I literally stream these for myself to practice stuff, but I'm working on my remix application. Of course, I'm cheating. I'm using Tailwind pre-made stuff, but this is kind of like where I'm at right now, kind of working at it, slowly making progress, exploring remix. I do love remix. I love Next.js too. I have a Next.js application as well, which is not a school because I'm totally like coding after 30. I'm totally like not into going to crazy styling stuff. It's like a basic blog that I built with Next.js and GraphQL. I don't know why I use GraphQL these days. On this new application, I'm not using GraphQL. I'm using REST, but we'll get there when we get there. Oh, Dev Hunt to collect build logs. I'm kind of curious. I broke my back end. Yeah, I don't have that much Rails experience because I've done it a long time ago and I was so new to my coding journey that I didn't even understand what I was doing by doing the models view controller, like whole idea here. But here's like the models and the view. It looks good. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm cheating because I'm using Tailwind UI library that I purchased. It was not cheap, but I figured it's going to motivate me to use it to get something done. And I really want to make sure that I get something out there. So I do want to have a project for the community, you know, where we're able to hang out and enjoy. Yes, exactly. Remix feels more MVC than Next.js. Yep. But it's so much fun. Remix does such a cool things, and I like it because Remix will continue to push Next.js to continue to innovate. And I think they're both need to exist in the space to make sure that they both to continue to innovate. So like I said, my two to-go frameworks now, it's Next.js and Remix. And I've been doing Remix a lot, and I'm probably going to be on this Remix train for a while. So I'm literally going to, if I were to have clients, I would offer basically products in Next.js or Remix at this point in time. And of course, for my backend, I'm always like using Strappy because I'm too lazy to create a backend. I'm kind of curious, what the hell did I do? Everything's up to date, and my server runs locally. Oops, I'm just gonna upset. Like, I went super wild west and deployed to main, and then of course I messed something up, but we'll see if it'll fail or not. I should have probably cleared the cache before deployment, but no big issue here. I love troubleshooting issues and figuring stuff out. But anyway, getting back to it. So what we want to do is eventually pull data for our tasks so we could display them here. Right, this is what I'm worried about, because there should be better logs, and so something else weird is happening. And that's why I'm kind of like freaking out a bit. Not much, because I could always troubleshoot stuff. Let's go to go to the deploy logs. Let's look and watch activity deploying. Yeah, this is kind of interesting because there's something weird happened. Something changed. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's take a look. Exciting. Let's see where it fails. And I know it's what's crazy. This is like the cool part about coding. Is all this stuff that you have to think about, and from deployment, from front end to like making calls. And so like when people say like I became a full stack developer in 30 days, I'm not even a full stack developer. I'm like a front end developer who's trying to make that kind of change to full stack. But yeah, I did it in 30 days. Like I call it suspect sometimes. So build complete. Let's see where it's gonna go fail. Maybe I just needed to clear the cache for the rebuild. I'm gonna have to look into that later, but we'll see if it blows up. So far it looks good. It says build complete, but I'm gonna wait a minute. Overview. Yeah, so I guess the issue was that I needed to clean the cache, and that's why it failed, which is kind of weird because I thought it would do it automatically, but it's good to know. It's not a big issue. So let's get back to our application so we could, and so now we should see our changes, which is basically we added our tasks. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go create some tasks so we could kind of get them. So I'm going to make first task, my first task, whatever. I'll probably just, it's active. Let's add it to our project. This is going to be in our second project, save. Then now what I want to do is I want to go to create another task. Oh, wait, I got to publish it. Don't forget. Let's create another task. And this is why I love Strappy, because I don't have to waste my time with APIs from scratch, because I could focus on building the front end first. I could always then go back and do my own API. Yeah, 100%. I can't teach someone full stack Next.js MongoDB if they know React already. And that makes sense. If you know React already, like we were at this discussion, should you jump right into Next.js, or you should be familiar with React first, whatever. you should know React. And then if you know React, learning Next.js, going to be like full stack, you can get there pretty quickly. I could see that. But then talking about if you then wanted to cover how to deploy it, how to do caching, how to do like all this, like whatever, like it will add additional time to that learning journey, 100%. But I still feel for people to really good at, so here's my thing, Mark, it's the more I spend as a developer, the more I get to a point where I feel like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And so I feel that's the more you know, the more you understand how much you have left to learn. But it doesn't mean that you can't be productive. It doesn't mean that you know enough to create stuff for your clients. This is my second task. And then status will be done, whatever, save. Let's put it to my second project. Save. And what's cool now, like I could go to my projects and then I will see that within my second project, right, I have 2 tasks. And what's cool about Strapi, I'm already getting hey Daniel, what's up? Hey, I started using Strapi recently because of you. How do you create custom ID, not Strapi default ID? I would need a little bit more context ID because it will automatically generate those IDs when you create and write data to the database, which is kind of controlled by Strapi. But you can add additional field to have unique IDs for your purpose if you want. But yeah, if you like, for instance, I just created a task here, right? If you look at tasks, these IDs are generated by Strapi and they're handled by Strapi. So there is a way that you could overwrite this and do whatever you want, but I wouldn't recommend doing it because you'll be working with like coarse Strapi code. If you wanted to have unique IDs, you could create another content type that will be your unique ID that you want to generate to match a certain pattern that you want when you create. So whenever you're searching stuff on your front end, instead of using this ID, you could use the unique IDs that you have specific. Like for instance, it's not in this project. Actually, let me see. Yeah, so here I have a slug that is based on the title. And whenever I search for the post, I don't search based on the ID, but I search based on the slug that I want to find it. But that's kind of like the tip that I'm going to do for you right now. But let me go back to our tasks. So we generated our tasks. Let me make sure that this is published. And so now what's awesome, if we take a look at my application here, let me kill everything. So in my API posts, and whenever you see that server, this is what's running. Actually, I need to go to get page by slug, get project. That server file means it's running on the server and running on the back end. What's up, Brian? Good to see you. How you doing? Brian's getting married in 15 days. Congratulations, brother. It's pretty awesome. So here I am. So what the hell, what page was I on? Where was I on? Oh, I was in the code. I was looking in the code. So here we are. So that server file means that it's running on the server. So I have my endpoint here, get project by ID, which is going to populate the data where I get the feature image, the author, and I get the project data. We just added a new item to our project. We added our tasks. So to make sure that I'm able to populate those tasks, because they're not populated out of the box, because you want to restrict the access that people have. So within my Strapi app number 1, I'm going to go to my settings. And in the future, I'm going to make this done with permissions for the simplicity of the application. I'm going to go to public under tasks, and I'm going to give permission to find one and find all. I'm going to click save. So whenever we go to our API endpoint here, based on the tasks, we'll be able to find one, or we could find many, whatever. So I want to be able to get those from my project though. So let's do like a simple test here. I'm going to go to index.js. I kind of have to remember where I am making this call. So where's my loader function? What's that one where you could look stuff up? No, that's not this one. I'm so bad. Oh. Dude, I'm so disorganized. So let's see, loader, which one? Root, index, app routes. Which one is this? Get all projects. Here we go. So here's the code. I'm already getting the project based on the project ID. So let's console log the data that I'm getting. And this data is already coming from Strapi. So, and by the way, that is running on the server, the .server and .loader file. So .loader runs on the server. It's going to call this get project by ID, the file that we just looked at, right? Get projects by ID running on the server. That's going to make a request to my backend to get the data. So let's see what we get right now when we navigate. So oops, on dashboard, I go to projects. Let's see if we go to my second project. So let's take a look at the output. So this is what we get. We get back our title. So we get back the project title, the description. We also get, let's see here. We get the featured image. We get the author information, which has the avatar, but notice you don't see anything here to do with the tasks that we created. So we have to populate it. We have to give it permission. So notice how Strapi allows you to populate the things that you want and not worry about fetching things that you don't want. So you could literally prevent overfetching or underfetching. So what I'm going to do here within my get project, what I'm going to do is populate tasks. And you can learn more about it at strapi.io documentation, or you could ask me questions about it if you want. But let's see if that works now. So let's go back here. Let's refresh. Let's go get those projects. Let's check this out. Oh, did I call it tasks or task? I don't remember. No, it should be tasks. Let me see here. Let me do this because I can't clearly see what the hell I'm getting back. Let me console log it in the front end so I could see better, because I'm curious. Inspect. Oh, I know why. 1 second. I'm doing something completely stupid right now. Don't worry about it. What do you mean that by... Yeah, you could filter put requests. That's a good question. To be honest, I have to look into that a little bit more, but I think you are able to send like filters to it as well. I have to look into it, so don't quote me on that. Maybe not. Hold on a second. Tasks. So what I'm doing right now is super stupid, because I'll tell you why it's super stupid, but it's okay. It's a start. So here we are. We're getting our projects. And so, yes, we are populating our tasks. So I'm able to get the projects and I'm able to get the tasks. But I want to get the tasks separately, right? Based on the project. So what would I do? So instead of like displaying my tasks here, I want to have a separate controller to get the tasks instead of like passing them, because we don't really care about, we just want the tasks here. So what we could do here is back in my code, right? What I need to do, I could be like, you know what? I don't need tasks here because it's not relevant here. So what do I need to do? I need to create a separate controller. I'm going to need a new folder called tasks and new file. And I'm going to call this get tasks by project ID .server.js because I don't know TypeScript. And then what I'm going to do for brevity, I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go here. I know that I'm going to be getting tasks and I want to get all tasks. And I just know this is what it's going to look like because this is what we saw in Strappy when we looked at our tasks controllers. Find, look at the endpoint, API tasks, and then be able to pass arguments. And eventually I'm going to create custom controllers to handle this. But for now, I'm using the controllers that Strappy already has out of the box. So right now, when I run this, by the way, and let's not, for now, I'm going to switch populate to populate everything just so we could kind of see. So now, like whenever, let's get it to work first. But what's going to happen whenever I run this is going to get all the tasks and not tasks by a specific project, which we will do in just a second. So first thing I want to do is make sure that this works. So get tasks by project ID. That's what we're going to call it. And what I want to do now is go to my tasks. And again, I'm going to copy and paste stuff just because it's just faster because I type slow. But what I'm doing here in tasks, I'll explain it here. So I want to be able to populate all my tasks here. What Remix has, it has the loader function. And then within the loader function, you're able to get the param of the URL that we're on and be able to pass that URL to our controller that we created, which is get tasks by project ID. I think that's what I called it. And let's import it from our server file that we created. Const get project from my autocomplete is dog crap right now. I'm gonna, what am I doing? Import. That's why it's autocomplete not working from. Come on, help me out here, brother. Help me out. Help me out. At API test. I think that's correct. Import. It's okay. Let's see, because we could tell if it's correct by seeing if our application catch get task by project ID is not defined. Hold on a second. API app API tasks. Get tasks by project ID server. Let's try it again. can't find module, get task by project ID server, get tasks. See, a lot of it is like me mistyping stuff. Task, get task. What are you talking about? You can't find it. Get tasks by project ID server. Killing me. Hey, Engine Boy, thanks for stopping by. I know you stayed up like really late, so thanks, and I'll see you later. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get this to populate, and then I'm gonna finish up as well. And these streams, you know, you'll be able to rewatch later, so no rush, but I'm gonna kind of work through this. Get tasks by project ID. Did I name it correctly? Come on. That's correct. That's being exported. That's... Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I didn't type it. Like, of course, the spelling. Get tasks by project ID. So that should fix it. Let's see here. Let's restart it. See. This is why I wish my auto import worked. Import. Come on. From. No, that's not it. That's not correct. Auto import. I have to fight my own computer. That was correct the first time though. I don't see why it's app API. Let me, you, come on, Paul. Come on, Paul. Get it together. Get it together, Paul. You got this. Get this. Get tasks by project. Get tasks. Let's get tasks. The spelling is going to be my own undoing on this live TV. And by the way, yeah, finally we figured out the spelling. We figured out everything. We got this to work. Thank God. We're going to keep at it. So now, so that worked. So now check this out. We're getting our, let's see, are we getting our test data? So now we know that our controller works. I know we're making the call within our task loader. If we want to access the data, what we need to do, we need to use the use loader function. Let's import it. Use loader data from Remix Run. And now let's console log tasks. And just so we don't go too crazy, let me just find any other console logs that I have that we could remove so we don't get confused here. Okay, beautiful. So now let's kind of review what we did. The first thing we did is we went, create an API tasks, get tasks by projects function, which is kind of like our controller, which is responsible to get all my tasks from my Strapi API. The way we're able to access this is by using the loader function from Remix that allows us to call our controller and get the data. In order to get access to that data on our front end, what we need to do is we need to use the Remix use loader data that we remove from Remix. We import from Remix Run, and now we have access to our tasks. So let's check it out and see if that worked. All right, and as you can see here, check this out. What's this? Our tasks. We have our first tasks and our second tasks. The issue here is that we're getting all the tasks. For instance, check this out. If I go back to my API here and I add another task, create a new task, another task. This should not be in the second project, right? Status, whatever, doesn't matter, done. And then we're gonna add it to my first project and save. So now we have 3 tasks. Oh, I didn't publish it. Come on, let's publish, save. We have 3 tasks, and let me kind of do this here. Title, what do we want to see here? What do we want to add? We want to add a project, so we could see it, save, confirm. Okay, go back to our tasks. So we could see we have 1 tasks in my first project and 2 tasks in my second project, right? And so what we want to, currently our implementation of our controller, we literally get all the tasks. So if I refresh this, it's gonna go ahead and notice we have 3 tasks, but we really want to get only the tasks with an ID of this project. So what we want to do is we want to filter this. Yeah, if you delete the entry, right? And I think like it depends. So for me, I prefer the way Strapi does it. I don't want to be able to, like if I delete an item from a database and I add a new one, I don't want it to use the same UI ID that I had before, right? Because it's a whole new item. So I prefer this like method better. Like if you create a new item that never existed, it should have a unique ID. And yeah, it's gonna follow like the Strapi pattern. And I know some people want to have different ID stuff, and I get it. But if you really needed that functionality, you can overwrite the way UI IDs are created in Strapi. You could use a patch package and kind of write your own code to generate the IDs that you want. But in our case, it's currently what it does. And for majority of people, this is not a thing. And if, like I said, if you wanted to have certain IDs without overriding the core functionality, you can create an additional field to have the UIDs that you want with a specific style that you have that makes sense for you. But I totally get your point. Yeah, and currently, like we don't do that. We have the particular method where it will create a new ID for each new generated item, and it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So if you had 4, so if you had 3 and you deleted it and you create a new item, it'll be 5 and so on. Yeah. So, okay. So now what we were able to do, we're able to get all our tasks from our API for our project. So our controller is working, but we want to make sure that we filter by the project. And so let me look at and I did the similar example here, get project by ID, where we implement our, hold on a second, project by ID, get project service. So I didn't implement it in this project. So let's or get tasks here. Let me see like posts, get posts. Here we go. I did it here. So get post by Slack. Okay, this is a custom controller. Never mind. I'm lying to all of you. I didn't do it in this application yet. So what we need to do, we need to filter by project ID. And I could have swore I did it here. I did it here. Did I not? No, I didn't. Okay, I'm lying to you like crazy. I'm building custom controllers for my backend to do the thing that I want, which eventually I'm going to do because I did it in this case. And to show you what I mean, if we go to our Strapi application, maybe I'll do that. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's might as well do that. Let's see here. So we'll do the custom approach. Let's see here. Code. Open VS Code. Actually, I will think about it. So if you take a look at our API, we have our page and we have a bunch of controllers. If you look at page, okay, that's not this one. Let's see, projects. Okay, that's not it. What did I create? Tasks. Let me take a look here. This is kind of interesting. API, projects, posts, routes. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me back up here. Let me double check something. It's getting late. My brain is freezing. Projects, posts. No, there's no custom controllers. I'm thinking of my other project. There's no custom here. So let's take a look back. So get post by slug. Client. Author, category, posts, page. Yeah, my brain is about to explode. I don't think I'm in the right project. Or I don't have all the changes pulled. Which will be another different issue. Hold on a second. What? Let me make sure I am. I have two different APIs, so I might have like been using completely wrong API, which is fine. But we gotta get to Dev Hunt server. Let me make sure whatever I got deployed matches what I have here. By the way, did you know if you press period in GitHub like I just did, it will open VS Code in the browser? What? Okay, I know why I'm getting confused. I'll show you in a second. I'm getting confused because, hold on, we need API folder. Because I have too many different things. So get page by slug. It makes no sense to me. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my God. This is gonna be so funny. It's too funny. Too funny. And now I'm curious. I'm sorry that now we're gonna like devolve into like people gonna be like, this is kind of boring. I know. This stream is for me working on my project. The beginning of it was like really cool because we talked about nested routes, but this is like now like I'm just working. So I am going to assume that I'm making calls to the wrong API. Which is too funny, which also is deployed. Yep. Wow. Wow. It's so funny. I'm using totally different API to get the data. Why, Paul? Why you do that? So, by the way, if you're interested in how to... So what I'm going to do, this is going to break my app, which I'm going to break my app, which is fine. But what is happening is I'm calling a different API because I have two different APIs, but the API I want to call doesn't have those custom controllers that I'm referring to, which I need. So I need to this is the API I'm calling, which is incorrect. I need to be calling Def Hunt server. Oh man, so many things are going to break right now. But that's okay. Probably, actually, not too much should break, to be honest. Not too much should... That is so weird. How's that other thing working? It's fine. It is fine. We're gonna get this. Yeah. All right. You know what? This is gonna be too much stuff. I've already been streaming for almost 2 hours. So what I'm gonna do for tonight, I'm gonna end it here. So if you made it this far, thank you. And if you did it, I appreciate it. Anyway, again, Friday nights are kind of wild. You could always rewatch the streams. And I do these streams not just for all of you, but also because Friday night I have nothing better to do and I like to code. And so if you watched it, thank you so much for joining. Check out the beginning of it if you want to see how to work with Remix and nested routes. We did cover that, and I feel in some decent way. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I point to the right API. I'm going to make sure everything works. And then in the next stream, we'll continue where we left off today. But thank you so much for stopping by. I can't say how much I appreciate you. And so wherever you are, have a great rest of the day, evening or nighttime. If it's time to sleep, I guess you should go to sleep. But I love you all. Thank you so much and have a great rest of the weekend. Bye, everybody.